I'm Jen Mall, and welcome to Nurse Connect. I am an RN and a board certified nurse coach. I believe that connecting with others is essential to living a happy and fulfilled life, and that sharing our stories not only helps us to heal ourselves, but also helps others by inspiring hope and optimism. I am so grateful to share stories of these incredible nurses on their journey, and I encourage you to find a way to share yours too. Thanks for listening in. All right. Hey there. This is Jen Mall, and I'm with Kori. Kori, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, my name is Kori Zabala. I am a nurse. I currently work in labor and delivery, and I've been a nurse for, 11 years now.
Wow.
And it's been quite a journey that I've been on through my entire nursing career.
Awesome. Awesome. So we've been chatting about quite a bit of different things. And one of the things that jumped out that you'd like to talk about today is your journey to become a labor and delivery nurse. So where do you want to start with that?
I think I'll kind of start like on my whole nursing career. Um,
Perfect.
I graduated nursing school in Washington, D.C. in 2012, and that was kind of a season in nursing where you could not really find a job. There was no jobs to be had. There was, no shortage at all. They were not really hiring new grads anywhere. You had to kind of have experience to get in anywhere. So
Mm-hmm.
because I went to school in Washington, D.C., and I wanted to come home here to
Mm-hmm.
Roseville, I didn't have any contacts anywhere. I couldn't get in anywhere. I ended up taking a job in a skilled nursing facility and
Mm,
worked in a skilled nursing facility for 2 years. And in that time, I took classes at the hospital and was
mhm.
able to kind of make connections that way,
Perfect.
to get my foot in the door. I ended up interviewing for a couple of different positions and did not get the job
Mm-hmm.
on the first couple of positions, and then ended up getting the job for a med-surg tele unit that was going to be opening up.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was hired on, I was hired on with 2 years of experience. And when we opened the floor in my first night off orientation, my manager was like, "Okay, you're going to be the charge nurse tonight."
Oh my gosh.
And I was in charge of
Ah.
3 new grads who were fresh off orientation, and I was
Oh my
fresh off
gosh.
orientation with 2 years of
Wow.
nursing facility
Wow.
experience under my belt. So that was a wild ride. Uh,
Yeah.
but when I was in nursing school, I kind of always had this dream that I wanted to be in labor and delivery, but it just
Mm-hmm.
was not the atmosphere that I was ever going to be able to get into that kind of a job.
Mm-hmm.
So I continued on the path and was on this med-surg tele unit for a couple of years. And my manager was kind of grooming me and getting me ready to kind of go towards a management role,
Mm.
which all of my experience with her, I was kind of in charge of different committees,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in charge of starting different councils and unit practice things. And I did kind of a whiteboard project, and I was basically her right hand man for those
Mm-hmm.
2 years. And this was before having kids and
Yeah.
everything. And so then the time kind of came where I was kind of struggling with my career as
Mm-hmm.
to where I wanted to go now that I had some experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of tossing back and forth whether I wanted to get a master's or I wanted to go into critical care, if I wanted to take the step into like management role, and or if I wanted to have kids.
Yeah.
So I kind of decided, well, I think I want to go more towards the critical care role, because if I
Yeah.
want to move into a management type role, I feel like I need a little bit more clinical experience to
Okay.
have some knowledge to back up what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
So I started pursuing the critical care role, and I ended up getting a job in trauma neuro ICU.
Mm-hmm.
And my manager and I kind of had to agree to disagree that that was the I was going to take, because she really
Yeah,
wanted me to pursue
of course.
management. And so I stepped into trauma neuro ICU, had a little bit of orientation in that. And I spent 5 or 6 years in
Mm-hmm.
TNI, and I had my first child while I was in TNI. And when I was delivering her, I was in L&D at my hospital, and I kind of had that dream come back and flash me in
Yeah,
the face and be like,
I want to
"Wait,
be here.
didn't you want to do this?
Yeah.
Is this what you wanted to do?" And then I kind of started to ponder on it, and I had a really great experience giving birth to her. And it started to kind of smolder in my heart, like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this nurse obviously made a huge impact on my life
Yeah.
and my trajectory as a mother and the experience of my labor and delivery and all of that. And so it just kind of started smoldering in my heart. And then very shortly after I had my second daughter, they're only 18 months apart. And so I was able to have another great experience. And
Uh-huh.
I was like, yes, this is exactly where I want to be. This is what I want to do. So then I returned to work. And of course, returned to work with my second daughter April 1st of 2020
Oh my gosh.
into the ICU. And I really did not have any idea what I was returning to. You know, the whole last
Mm-hmm.
month of my maternity leave with two kids under the age of 2, I got all of my coping mechanisms taken away, you know, all of my coping skills, all of my friends, all of my support system,
Yep.
all of this network that I had built with my first, that I was looking forward to going into my second so confidently.
Just
You know,
gone.
just everything was taken away. I couldn't go out on a date with my
Wow.
husband. I couldn't go to my mommy support group. I couldn't go to my monthly mom's bunko nights. I could
Mm-hmm.
not go get my toes done. I couldn't get a massage. I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
go safely to the grocery store and take my kids to the grocery store. You know, all of these things that I felt like I accomplished, I could not rely on, you know?
Right.
So then that is kind of looming over me the last month of my maternity leave.
Mm-hmm.
I returned to work April 1st, and I had no idea what I was going back to. I obviously was locked out of all the systems because I'm on maternity leave, so I just don't know what the actual state of affair is,
Right.
you know. But what I'm hearing is not good. There's not
Yeah.
enough supplies, there's not enough PPE, there's not enough anything, you
So much
know,
uncertainty.
and it's
Yeah.
changing every single day.
Yeah.
So I went to, and a lot of my coworkers were staying in hotels away from their family, which just wasn't a
Mm.
reality for me, being, you know, breastfeeding and having two very young children.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My mom and my dad and my grandma were all kind of primary caregivers to my children while I was at work.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom had gone through chemo with breast cancer, and so she was immunocompromised.
Mm-hmm.
My dad had a kidney transplant, and so he was
Oh
on
wow.
suppressants, and he was immunocompromised. And then my grandma's 85. So,
Wow.
and they all live together and they're caring for my children. So I'm like
Right.
afraid, what am I going to bring home to my children and to them potentially?
Right.
Because that was in the time where we were like, okay, everybody's going to
You just
die.
don't know.
You know,
Yeah.
you just
Yeah. It was
don't know.
terrifying. Yeah.
So it took me the normal amount of time to kind of get back in the groove of getting back to work, about a year or so. And at that point, I was kind of getting in the strive of like being really good in my job, because that was
Yeah.
about probably 3 years into being in TNI.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got really good at what I did. I was very confident. I had good critical thinking. I was able to work easily through emergencies. Things started becoming very repetitive, with even if
Mm-hmm.
it was multi-trauma, very complex patients. I had moved to day shift already at this point, so
Nice.
I got a good, you know, a lot of good you know, collaboration with the
Yeah.
physicians and everything. And I could see how the plan was changing, or how we were having, or what kind of values they were looking at to make their decisions, or being able to see x-rays and CTs and be able to kind of evaluate those things with them. And so I gained a lot of really great
Yeah.
skills, I felt like,
Yeah.
clinically.
During a really challenging time.
Yes, and then, you know, doing it with a lot of compassion, but
Yeah.
coming, you know, working, and I started at that point kind of trying to pursue shadowing in labor and delivery to see if
Great.
it's what I really wanted.
Yeah.
So I knew it was possible because I had shadowed in TNI before I went there to
Mm-hmm.
make the decision whether I wanted trauma ICU or just medical ICU.
Yeah.
And so I knew it was possible. I started kind of going the appropriate avenues, and the manager and the director both kind of told me, no, it's not possible. You cannot shadow in labor and delivery. And so I went above them to the education department, and the education department was like, she's an employee here. She's totally good. Like, she does have every right to
Very
shadow
cool.
as long as it's on her own time, you know?
Yeah.
So I went in and shadowed and was like, okay, I feel like this is really where it's
Yes.
going. So I found myself kind of researching obstetrics and labor and
Mm-hmm.
delivery and kind of what a normal day in the life would look like, good, bad, and ugly. I found some accounts on Instagram that were like specifically for labor and delivery nurses that provided some education.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of found myself on my time off, like really spending a lot of time learning and getting fired up about it. And then over the course of like a year, I kind of realized, I'm spending a lot of time looking into this, and this isn't even my, specialty. Like,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, this is what lights my fire.
Yeah, you're very passionate about it.
Yeah, but also over the course of that year, I kind of became very burned out and
Mm,
probably also pretty depressed,
yeah.
and just not a very good person, not a very good
Oh, wow.
wife, not a very good mother, not a very good nurse at that because I was so
Oh,
burned out. But I know it was just an unhealthy culture of what we were in and the season that
yeah.
we were going through and the constant change every single day. So I was extremely burned out. I probably should have been on antidepressants, but I was so stubborn and I refused to do it because it was like the state of the world.
Wow.
I'm like, if we weren't in a pandemic, I would be fine. Why do I need
Yeah.
medication? So I
Yeah.
just refused to do it. So it kind of took me turning to a different mode of coping skill because I had lost everything.
Yeah.
Really turned inwards towards my faith, which I had never really done before.
For you.
Everywhere in my career, I've always kind of taken the bull by the horns and knocked down the
Mhm.
door.
Yeah.
And that's just how I approached everything. And so after I shadowed, I tried to reach out to the manager in labor and delivery and tell her, that I wanted to be hired. And of course, look at all these great reasons why you should hire
Yeah.
me. And she said no. She said, and the director said no. And the director said, you will never get hired here
Oh,
ever if you don't have experience. She said, go to another hospital and get experience. Find somewhere that will give you experience.
wow.
This particular hospital will hire you as a no experience labor nurse. Go there and then we'll think about hiring you. Multiple times the door was shut in my face.
So
No from the
discouraging.
educator, no from the manager, no from the director, no from everybody within the department. And I just felt like I'm not meant to leave where I am to go to
Mm,
somewhere else. Like, this is my home. This is my hospital. This is where I've invested all of my career.
right.
This is what I know. This is close to my house. This is my hospital.
Beautiful.
So I was pretty burned out at work. It seemed like I had a constant stream of end of life care or
Mm-hmm.
people who kind of waited till the last minute and then we couldn't really do very much. And it was like the family wasn't ready to make the decisions that needed
Yeah.
to happen. And I was constantly having to have those conversations, which I'm
So hard.
very very comfortable with and very well versed in and have no problem helping families along that. But every single day is like
Yeah, that's a lot.
exhausting. So plus, it was like very challenging. The culture of the nurse is the hero kind of turned into
Mm-hmm.
the nurse is the liar. And it felt like my patients didn't trust me. And that was difficult to kind of navigate.
Right.
Plus, layering on the depression and all of that. So, um, inwards turning towards my faith, I just decided I would pray every morning in the parking lot before I went in for my shift that I would dread every single time and just say, please, God, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I need to be here part-time, day shift in labor and delivery at my hospital. And I am too busy with two little kids to know your
Mm-hmm.
secret, whatever whisperings. Like, you have
Yep.
to illuminate the path as if it's an airplane that's crashed and it's glowing and it's telling
And
me
just
which way to
follow
go.
it.
And I will take the each step. And over the course of a little while, um, certain things started becoming illuminated. I kind of had this feeling like, go talk to this person
Oh my gosh.
on this
Chills.
specific day. And I went to go talk to this specific person. And she was like, oh, well, let me go take you down to my friend who's the educator in labor and delivery, whatever, and we'll go talk to her. So then we would go talk to her. She'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to go ask the manager if maybe you can cross train to do recoveries, but just badge recoveries, because we're really busy and we have a lot of people out on medical leave. We need a little bit of help. I'm like, whatever, I'll take
Yep.
it.
I'm here.
I will change poopy diapers. Like,
Yeah.
I literally don't care. I'm so burned out.
Yeah.
So, come to find out now, after being in the department, the manager was out on leave and there was a staff nurse filling in her position. And she told me that she approved everything that was on the manager's desk. And one of those things was for me to come down and cross train.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, well, thank you very much. So
Yes.
I was able to come down and cross train. I felt very uneasy being in the department because I did not spend enough time there to be good at it. And I'm kind of the type A ICU personality who wants everything perfect. And I didn't feel good about the care that I was giving because I just didn't have enough repetition with it.
Yeah.
But I did the best that I could, and I was able to pick up probably once a pay period or once a month down there, doing badge recoveries. I moved into doing like C-section recoveries as well and all that. And I picked up above and beyond my shifts in TNI, which I could have made up every excuse in the book to call in sick, to call in whatever in TNI, but it never felt like I was working overtime. I was picking up down there.
That's amazing.
Which was like a breath of fresh air for me.
Yes.
I actually feel like something is coming, like something is still bringing me joy, So after about a year of doing that, they had posted a bunch of positions and I went down and talked to the manager and I was like, I see all these 45 positions that you posted. Like, would you hire me? And she's like, no, you don't have experience. And I was like, okay. She's like, maybe you should go somewhere else and get experience. We'll talk about it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but I've spent all this time helping you.
Yeah.
I'm cross-trained. And she's like, but you're only cross-trained to recoveries. It's not the same. Labor is different, this and that. And I'm just like, I have so many valuable skills. I can critically think. I can do hemorrhage. I can do MTP. I can do epidurals. I can do all these things. And
the skills are all applicable.
I can do like all of these things. And she was like, no, you don't have labor experience. It's just not going to happen. So then I was kind of talking to I got some more intuitions to like go talk to specific people. And then it ended up working out that I was able to read our union contract, and it said that they were actually supposed to be hiring cross-trained nurses. And so I was like, okay, well, interesting. So all the while I've kind of been pretty faithful, growing in my faith, in my church family, kind of going each week. And somebody that I was really close with at my church had told me, probably, so the manager I had talked to in October, and she was like, well, we'll see if we have a training position, once all the dust settles, we'll figure it out. But it's probably not likely. Maybe next year or something, we'll get funding for a training position. It's very expensive to train non-experienced nurses. So I think the week before New Year's Eve, this person that I went to church with said, well, I'm just going to pray that you hear something by the end of the year. And I thought, well, that's
today.
But that'll be great. But I am not putting all my eggs in that basket. I'm just not gonna be too excited.
But what a beautiful gesture.
Right. I'm like, thank you so much. I will take it. But so December 31st, the manager of labor and delivery called me and said, we are opening a training position for you.
Oh my gosh.
But it goes by seniority. And it's union, so whoever's the high seniority is going to get the position. And I said, oh, great. So I'll apply, whatever.
Yeah.
So I applied. I went to church, and I was supposed to find out on Monday whether or not I got the position. The church all prayed over me to block any more senior people to apply. And on the Monday, I found out I got the position.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's incredible.
So I was pretty amazed. So
wow.
The position was full-time night shift. And I remember thinking like, God, I don't know. I'm going to take this step,
Trusting
but
here.
I'm trusting
Yeah.
here. I don't know what's
Yeah.
going to happen, but I will trust.
Yeah.
And actually in October, when the manager told me, well, it's not really probably going to work out for about a year. The old manager that I had worked with on the med-surg tele unit had moved on to
Mhm.
another hospital. She
Mhm.
contacted me and said, I'd like you to come down here, come meet with me. I met with her, and she had wanted me for a manager role, but when she was touring me through the hospital, we went through labor and delivery. I ended up speaking to the manager, and that manager wanted to hire me on the spot part-time day shift in labor and
Wow.
delivery.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I remember applying for the position, sitting in it over the weekend, and I was like, something in my gut is telling me that this is not right. Everything on
Mm.
paper feels right, but something in my gut is telling me that it is not right. And
Wow.
so on the Monday, I called the manager and pulled out my application and said, I'm sorry, but this is just not going to work for me. So I gave up
Yeah.
a part-time day shift labor and delivery position,
You listen to
continue
your
working,
intuition.
to continue working in TNI where I was very burned out, and then ended up getting this labor and delivery position where I wanted it.
Oh my gosh.
So I started the position absolutely over the moon in like March.
Mhm.
And I was very excited. I remember being very nervous as to who my preceptors were going to be. I
Mhm.
kind of found out pretty early on that there was a lot of things that were put through the rumor mill about me
Mm.
before I had even applied there, that I didn't
Yeah.
deserve the position, or I wasn't good enough or qualified enough
Mm.
or whatever. It was a very hard unit to try to
Yeah.
break into in all of my career. And I think because I've mostly worked with men, and this was the first time
Mhm.
I was mostly working with women.
Oh, wow.
So that
Interesting.
was difficult for me,
Yeah.
to try to change my thought process on that. But I just thought, well, I'm open to it. So
Mhm.
all the whole last year before I got in, I had been following this company on Instagram who provided education. I signed up for their mentorship simultaneously with my
Wow.
orientation. I asked my manager if she would pay for it. She said no. It's like, but it's like orientation, she said no.
Yeah.
So I paid for it out of my pocket, and
Uh-huh.
man, it was one of the most valuable
Wow.
trips I could have ever paid for. It was 12 months, and it kind of coincided right with my orientation, and it
Perfect.
provided a lot of the pathophysiology, a lot of the foundational education, because even though I had been a nurse for 10 years, this is a completely
Mhm.
new specialty, and
Totally. You're a newbie.
I don't remember
Yeah.
the stuff from nursing school about this.
Yeah.
We got like 6 minutes, like
Yeah.
it's totally different. So the mentorship and everything kind of went hand in hand. I ended up I had like a 6-month orientation, which was phenomenal, absolutely amazing. My preceptor was absolutely God sent. She was
Oh,
exactly what I
wow.
needed. She and I had kind of very similar personalities. Um, she respected the experience that I was bringing, so she
Mhm.
didn't treat me like a new grad like most of the floor did.
Sure.
She respected what I knew, but then also kind of had her hand right there when I needed more help. And then she knew when to push the gas and keep kind of pushing me towards more. She just
Awesome.
was absolutely magical in my orientation.
Wow.
I went to night shift probably the last month of my orientation, had
Okay.
great preceptors as well. And then I was like, okay, I'm kind of done with you guys following me around. I'm ready to
Yeah, I wanna be
go
on
on
my
my
own.
own.
Yeah.
And I got released onto my own, and I had gotten a part-time night shift position by this point.
Okay.
I was like, okay, well, it's doable, we'll work with it.
Yeah.
And then found out that there was some changes in the department, and some things were happening, and there were some movements. And within 2 months of night shift, I got a part-time day shift position. Totally skipped the full time and
That's
went straight to part-time.
amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I remember when I applied for it, I was like, I have to go to my church and
Yeah.
just
Yep.
totally trust that this is what's going to happen. So I remember my pastor preaching the specific topic about how there was some people in jail, and there was an earthquake that released these people from jail,
Okay.
and the strongholds were broken and all of that. I'm
Okay.
sure I'm not doing this justice for what he was actually preaching, but they called everyone up for prayer. I went up there, I explained to them that I had applied for the position. And as the entire church is praying over me, I felt an earthquake under my feet,
Oh my
which I've
gosh.
never felt in my life
Pretty
before.
startling. I know. Especially
And
living in
I
California. You think they're all the time, but we don't feel them.
No, we don't feel them. And I felt a very distinct earthquake. And the very
Whoa.
next day is when I found out I got the part-time day shift position.
Corey, this is incredible. I have chills.
Yeah. So
Wow.
it was like, wow. And I started in the part-time day shift position in January, which was less than 1 year from my transfer. I wasn't even in the department for a year. Yeah. So now I'm on part-time day shift, have pissed off all of night shift and all of day shift. So
But
I'm
how
still
are
kind of,
you doing?
yeah. So I am like absolutely ecstatic going to work. You know, I
Good.
go to work with a smile on my face. I
Oh
leave
my
work with a smile
gosh.
on my face. I think I'm
Incredible.
healthily nervous of certain
Mhm.
things, like I'm not overly confident or
Sure.
cocky. But a lot of the concepts really came together pretty quickly
Good.
for me because I had the foundation
Mhm.
of being able to see the big picture.
Mhm.
So I also have the foundation of being able to act calmly in emergency,
Yep.
and delegate and swiftly communicate and
Mhm.
clearly communicate and prioritize and do all of those things. So I was able to really put a lot of the concepts together once
Yeah.
the foundation of the labor piece of it. And it came
Yeah.
together really nicely for me.
Beautiful.
But the thing that was really fascinating about the whole part of it is like every piece of the puzzle, it was like right when I got the offer of the position full-time night shift, my husband had an old boss plop a job in his lap that was going to be work from home, way
Oh
more
my
money,
gosh.
all this other thing, because he was commuting into an office.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
And
he
Brian,
did
how are you
that.
going to do it with two little girls? Like,
Yeah, and so he got
oh
that
my
position
gosh.
plopped into his lap at the same time. It's just like all these pieces have come together.
Yeah.
Furthermore, this company that I had done the mentorship with, they were offering a learning retreat that's
Oh
going
my
to be
gosh.
up in May, and it was in Cancun. And the whole gist of the learning retreat was they wanted you to downregulate your nervous system, pour into your own cup so that you can
Yes.
get out of overflow. But you're also going to be getting CEs in addition to,
Yes.
right?
Oh
And
man.
so I remember looking at this trip, in October when I was still in TNI, when I had turned down this position, when
Mhm.
I had no position yet. And I was like, oh, if only I could.
Just trust.
So when I got the position in March, I was like, I'm just going to trust that I took a step out of the comfort zone and that this is all going to work out. And I bought the trip as a gift
Wow.
to myself that it'll be my 1 year anniversary of transferring. So I bought the trip. And so then I was requesting the time off on night shift, right? And then the vacation period had kind of passed. I had ended up getting the day shift position. So then, of course, my days are all different and I'm lower seniority.
Yeah.
So they were formulating my schedule and my template and everything. And every month I have a 9-day stretch off. Well, that Mexico trip falls within that 9-day stretch off. So I don't have to take PTO.
That is amazing. Wow.
Like cherry on top, you know?
The whole meant
It's
to
like
be.
it's just like every single detail above and beyond what I could have ever asked for is totally taken care of.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like completely the cherry on top. And I have chills even talking about it again.
Yes, I have chills. This is incredible.
Yeah, but in
Wow.
in the time that I spent in L&D, it took me probably like 6 months there to really decompress
Yeah.
all of the alarm fatigue that I didn't
Yes.
realize was affecting me so much. I did not realize it until I was gone.
Yeah.
And I went back and floated back to TNI because I felt kind of conflicted. Like I'm
Mhm.
really happy, but I feel like I'm giving something up that
Okay.
I was really good at.
Okay.
Like maybe if I was healthier mentally, that I could be good
Mhm.
at it. And
Mhm.
go back, and I went back and I heard the alarms and I could just feel the
Feel
tension.
it.
And
Yeah.
I went home and then I started kind of lashing out at my husband and my kid.
Wow.
And as soon as I was like, okay, I miss my friends, but I do
Don't
not
miss
miss
that.
that. You know, I do not miss that
Yep.
environment. The vent
Yep.
alarms, the bed alarms, the monitor alarms, all the alarms, you know.
Yeah.
In L&D, there's
And
hardly any alarms, hardly any call lights,
yeah.
mostly pleasant patients,
Yes.
you
Mostly
know,
happy circumstances.
mostly happy circumstances. But when there's bad circumstances, I felt well versed in taking care of those
Yes.
patients because of my experience.
Yes. And you're probably almost a resource to others in that situation because of your experience, and they don't get that very often.
Correct.
So
I feel
that's pretty
very
amazing.
comfortable using language to be able to
Mhm.
prepare a
Mhm.
patient for what's coming next.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
I think I'm a valuable resource for the department now in so many other ways.
Wow.
And I think now is not the time for me to be a leader. Now is the time for me to let my work speak for itself.
Mhm.
I think eventually it will come, but right
Yeah.
now it's time for me to be quiet and just let my work speak for itself,
Wow.
which I've never done in my career either. You know,
But that's beautiful. And also, I see you as bridging the gap too between these worlds who have traditionally been so separate, yet there's such a possibility of sharing these worlds and these experiences and meeting new people and creating a more open culture, diverse culture. I think that's really great.
yeah. The one thing that is I say every day to all of my patients when they ask me, like, are you glad you switched?
Mm.
What do what do you think? Every single day I go into work, I make a profound difference in my patients' lives by making
Oh,
sure that they feel seen, safe, and soothed through their birth experience. Even if they have a bad outcome, the way that they were cared for sets them up for the rest of their life and the rest of their motherhood and how they pour into their children and how they raise up the next generation. I
mm,
get to be a part of that. You know, I feel so lucky that they trust
yeah.
me to listen to them and to take what they want so seriously and advocate for them and help be a partner in their birth story and make them feel safe. And I feel like they feel safer in my care because of my experience. And so
Mhm.
they're automatically down regulated. And then
Mhm.
labor hormones, everything flows better. And so it
Mhm.
seems like I tend to have kind of better outcomes. Obviously, I haven't been
Yes.
there very long to see a lot, but
Yeah.
it feels like I have better outcomes because my patients feel more downregulated with all of that. And
Mhm.
although I was saving people's lives on a daily basis in TNI, it's kind of a thankless job when, intubated
Yeah.
pop's like, oh, thanks for wiping my butt. No,
Yeah.
he's not
Yeah.
doing that. He's like, get off of
Yeah.
me. you
Yeah.
know? So it's just
Oh,
every day I feel like I'm making a difference.
that's beautiful. I got really emotional when you were saying that because, well, for one, I got emotional because I feel incredibly strong that everybody needs to be seen, heard, and loved. That's part of the reason why I'm doing this because we have incredibly powerful stories, and what we do makes a big difference, whether it's acknowledged or it's not, whether we acknowledge it or we don't. So that's one piece. The second piece is what an incredible environment for this baby to be born into.
Totally.
Because we know now with science, like there is studies coming out about these traumatic experiences before babies have the ability to children have the ability to speak and have specific memories. That trauma is still real, it's still held in the body. So to be held, to be able to be birthed into a space where the mother is calm and at peace and feels safe and supported, and to be birthed into an environment where the nurse is there caring and loving and supporting. I mean, that is just, you're already impacting that baby's life from before they're born.
Right.
um, Incredible.
Right. And raising a generation that's going to be better than ours.
Yeah.
That's how I can
Yeah.
make my impact on the next generation. So,
Wow.
and hopefully I can continue to be a leader so that people can kind of, you know, take notice because I feel
Yeah.
like the culture of obstetrics has been very negative towards
Mm.
women. I feel like there's a lot of misinformation
Mm.
in this space with I feel like there is some mistrust between healthcare providers and doctors
Mm,
and mothers. I feel like there's a lot of uh, tension between the two,
mhm.
and
Yeah,
it could be better. If you
yeah,
look at the history of obstetrics,
yeah,
it's not a pretty history,
yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, I want to assure you that maybe you're not in a formal leadership position right now, but you absolutely are a leader. So I just want to reinforce that. And I think even by being willing to share your experience and being so transparent about your own burnout experience, because I know I've been struggled with my own personal burnout, but especially those of you that were at the bedside during the really, really rough periods of COVID. Um, a lot of us are really struggling with that. And I think you've given words and feelings and emotion and the face of that, whereas a lot of people just haven't been able to do that. And so, thank you for sharing your experience and your healing journey and finding your passion. And this is just so beautiful.
thank you. Thank you. It was a long, hard couple of years of really looking internally at myself
Mm,
as to what is truly going to bring me joy, not just what's going to be the quick fix,
right,
not what other people think should make me happy. It's
right.
really what is going to make me happy. And it
Wow.
was a lot of work, kind of on many levels.
Yes.
Through the journey, I kind of have done other things to make myself better as well. We've kind of gone on a financial journey, and
Mhm.
obviously my faith journey, and
Yeah.
now the last step of it is I'm gonna work on kind of more of a health journey, but
Good for
I
you.
had to mentally get there first.
Yes.
And I feel like going through it almost organically in the hard way, like I had to go through the fire of
Yes.
feeling how horrible it was
Yes.
to motivate me to want to make a change to be
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. I feel the same way. And it's a hard journey, like you said, but to be able to find that healing and that happiness and that peace and fulfillment is incredible. And so it's worth it. In hindsight, you find that gratitude for all those hard times because it's gotten you to
Absolutely.
where you're at now.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
100%. I don't
Wow.
ever wanna feel that way again.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for having to feel so miserably.
Right.
At least there was a purpose for it.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, thank you, Corey. Do you have anything else to add before we finish up?
I don't think so, but I am happy to, if people want to reach out to me or
Okay.
anything like that, I'm happy to talk to people. Obviously, I'm not a mentor by any means. I just have gone through the hard phase,
Beautiful.
but, I'm here.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome.